Let's move on to the approval of the February 17th, 2016 meeting agenda. Staff, anything to make note of?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Just one update from me. This would be to other business item B, the voucher disbursement report. Council received an email earlier, and there's a printed version of the actual voucher disbursement report in front of you. And so we're just adding that to tonight's agenda, and that is the only update from myself.
Okay, excellent. Council, anything you'd like to rearrange on tonight's agenda? Okay. Do we have an approval?
Hearing none, I will make a motion that we approve the meeting agenda.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no or nay. Tonight's agenda has been approved. Let's move on to the consent agenda. So pursuant to council rules, one motion, non-debatable, will approve the recommendation noted. Any member of the council may ask for an item to be taken from the consent agenda for discussion and separate action. Such items removed from the consent agenda shall be considered immediately following the approval of the balance of the consent agenda. Staff, anything on the consent agenda? Okay. Council, anything you'd like to pull from tonight's agenda?
Hearing none, I move that we approve tonight's consent agenda.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no or nay. Tonight's consent agenda is approved. So what did we approve? We approved City Council meeting minutes from February 4th, 2026. We approved City Council work session meeting minutes from January 13th, 2026. We approved special City Council work session meeting minutes from January 22nd, 2026. We approved Hennepin County's grant for community gardens. We approved the recommendation for a Charter Commission reappointment. We approved the investment report. We approved the bond reimbursement report. We approved the quarterly financial information for general, water, sanitary, sewer, storm, sewer, and solid waste. We approved licenses. We approved the purchase of solar trail lights and poles. We approved the reappointment of commissioner and alternate commissioners to the Shingle Creek Watershed Commission. We approved the firefighter forcible entry training prop. We approved the Hennepin County Ignite grant. And we approved the appointment of Councilmember Greenberg and Councilmembers Caceres Aranda to the Blue Light Light Rail Corridor Management Committee, or the CMC. All right, next on the agenda, we have presentations, which are none. Public hearings, none. Old business, none. New business, consider an ordinance for adding new language relating to the administration and employee authority in immigration matters.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council, what I'll do is walk through a bit of history with some conversation y'all have had, highlighting a few updates to where we got to where we are here tonight. Certainly staff is happy to stand for questions, comments, concerns, but what you have here in front of you is to consider an ordinance adding new language relating to administration and employee authority in immigration matters. Back on January 13th of this year, City Council considered language for a separation ordinance during the work council session. Language from an existing Minneapolis ordinance was used to guide conversation. Certainly input from the community members helped that conversation as well. It was acknowledged during that time and afterwards that language specific to Minneapolis may not apply word for word for a few different reasons. But ultimately, staff was given direction to bring back for the February 10th work session. Here last week at that work session, staff discussed proposed language as well as highlight some current city functions. In tandem, the City Council was also provided privileged information prior to the meeting, and then the City Attorney also attended to give some clarity on some issues with questions that were raised. At the work session, there were some amendments provided. Council ultimately gave direction for staff to bring back an ordinance for a first reading here tonight. As we sometimes do, look at what other cities are up to. The City of Golden Valley, Richfield, and Roseville, which is not listed in your memo, all have versions that have gone through recently. Would note a majority of suburban cities have not passed an ordinance similar, but many have issued statements and approved resolutions signaling much of the captured language. Minneapolis and St. Paul have more robust language, but again, for a number of different capacities and considerations go into those. We also had some high-level discussion at what some larger cities throughout the country are doing. I also think it's important to call out in tandem what the city has been doing since this discussion started. Communication has been key. To start, the Robbinsdale Police Department continues to message what department does and does not do. In general, local and state officers, what they may have authority to do, where they may not be able to intercede. I think a lot of that communication has been a benefit, certainly not a solve-all, but a lot of the communication that has come from these discussions, I think, has been beneficial to the conversation generally. We'll fast forward here to a couple other items. Some of the things that we've been looking to share, things that are outside the capacity. The city of Robbinsdale certainly has limited resources by staff time and otherwise. But when it comes to resources for individuals, including adult representation, the places like the Immigration Law Center of Minnesota, the Immigration Defense Project, Immigration Legal Resource Center, and otherwise have been organizations we've been able to share out from. Further resources for businesses, like including Elevate Hennepin for funding opportunities through area foundations and otherwise have been good resources for our local businesses. Moving forward, some observations now that we have an updated draft in front of you. I want to start by saying staff made a few general grammatical updates and just language updates for consistency. No major changes, but again, just getting a few things dialed in. Those things were discussed last week. Upon review, the additional, we do believe there is some additional risk relating some of the language requested by council. We do call that out specifically in your memorandum, section 3, paragraph 4. We just believe that may potentially open us up to additional litigation. Whether or not specific to cited statute or otherwise, it'll note that different circuits have observed this differently, including the 8th has not. Ultimately, a number of those items kind of fall into that I don't know category, while recognizing there is potential for litigation in those circumstances. City should also keep in mind, as noted, some of the larger organizations that have taken us on include Minneapolis. Their specific separation ordinance is the subject, in part, of a federal lawsuit. There was a motion to dismiss on the 29th, and likely be a hearing on the 2nd of March, which may give us some direction as to how some observations might go for this type of language. Also want to note section 4, the access to city property presents potential enforcement and public relations issues. Again, staff in our summary has noted here that we would be looking for some very direct expectations from council as to what it is you'd be looking to achieve by some of this language. Similarly, some sections in the ordinance impose obligations on city employees and officials in a way that may create additional data, and would be mindful of that as we go forward. Ultimately, assuming approval of the first reading goes through tonight, staff would again begin to formulate some estimated expenditures that are required to implement and ensure ongoing compliance. Immediate onboarding and ongoing trainings would be needed, but beyond that, again, some technical pieces, some data pieces would also be considered. Finally, staff, again, really is going to push council tonight to be very explicit in expectations for enforcement. Literal reads may bring up unintended consequences, which we certainly want to avoid, but just understanding what the expectations are will certainly be helpful. The timing would be such that a second reading could occur as early as March 17th. That would be followed by a 30-day waiting period for your standard ordinance language. So again, staff is here to respond to questions, comments, or concerns. I have no doubt we'll have a full conversation here tonight.
All right. Thanks, Tim. Councilmember Greenberg.
Yeah. Thanks for that overview, Tim. And especially appreciate all the work the city has done to make more information available to residents on the website, through social media. Just, I feel like it's been a lot of work and it's noted, but also really helpful to the community for answering questions. And I also want to say to the council and our community, I really appreciate all of the conversations and discussions and specifically feedback from our community members. So from my perspective, and I know that I've shared some concerns around risks that are associated with enacting a separation ordinance, but I want to say that I wholeheartedly agree with the idea that city resources should not be assisting in ICE activity. And so really my concerns and questions were around balancing language we already have in place that does that versus moving this to code and a separation ordinance. In last week's work session, lots of conversation, lots of feedback. One thing that I heard that really stood out was from our city attorney, talking about precedent and mode versus regulating, and felt very comfortable that the direction we were headed in was around mode, at least in the original draft ordinance that we were working with before we had the new language that was added. And so that actually gave me some comfort in, or at least made me feel more comfortable as far as weighing the balance of this risk versus, like language we already have, but moving it into an ordinance. And just throughout the last month and more, I've talked with a number of residents, and I've listened to all that feedback from the council meetings and work sessions. And I'll be honest, almost everyone, the vast majority of the feedback, especially from our community, has been focused on the police and making sure that their actions are separated from ICE. So to me, that feels like the crux of what the community is asking for in separation language. In addition to that, we saw in our memorandum, and Tim mentioned it today, there are additional concerns that are in the new language, as well as just when I think about the timeline. So if we do have a first reading tonight, we'll have a second reading on the 17th, and then 30 days after that, if we move forward, that's when the separation ordinance would go into place. And so I'd like to make a suggestion, and I'd like to see what the rest of the council thinks about it, which is removing the additional language that we got, focusing on the original draft language of the separation ordinance, and moving that to an emergency ordinance to get that done, where we would have a discussion and a work session on the 10th. And then if we move forward, an emergency ordinance would go into effect on March 17th if we passed it. So I know that's a lot, but it's just an idea that I wanted to throw out there and hear the council's feedback.
Councilmember Caceres-Aranda.
Thank you. Thank you, Jason. Yeah, I would just say, so just to clarify kind of on what you're wanting is you want to do the ordinance that's on paper now that we had prior to our work session and move that forward, but move the new amendments in an emergency ordinance. Is that kind of?
No, I think what I'm suggesting is that the entire conversation moves to an emergency ordinance focused on the original draft language that we got. Mm-hmm. And then we got new language just before the meeting last time, and it sounds like from a public feedback standpoint, they're really more focused on police, and then also concerns from city staff. So, again, it's like we can still have conversations about those items. It just wouldn't be as part of this conversation. We'd get the separation ordinance done, which is really around staging on park property, essentially separating our activity, limiting or, making sure that we're not using city resources to support ICE activity.
Thank you for that clarification.
Did you have more to say?
No. Just want to clarify.
Councilmember Parisi?
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Greenberg. Before moving on to further discussion about this, I have a clarifying question related to the amendments specifically. What about the amendments is risk averse enough in your mind to remove them?
I just feel like we're getting feedback from staff. We're getting feedback from our community. They're focused on the police, And I feel like the amendments are more focused on like gathering data, reports, what staff can and can't do. And it's not as much focused on the police, so it's not as much a question of risk on that part of it. I think I look at risk more of the overall separation ordinance. Again, like I didn't really have a whole lot of time to analyze or really think about it. I mean, we were essentially in an intense conversation in our work session last week. So it's not like those ideas are inherently bad and we should never do them. I just think what I'm focused on is what people are asking for, and that's around the separation ordinance language, that we're not using, the police are not assisting ICE activity, that ICE isn't staging in our public property. And to me, any data that goes around that will, I mean, like if we end up needing a report, we'll have data accessible. So I don't know that we necessarily need all that language, but if you do think it's important, we can still have those conversations. It's just that to me, that doesn't need to happen right now. And what we're trying to do is get the language that says as a city, we're not going to use city resources to support ICE activity.
Yes, please.
Thank you. I will say clearly that I would like to keep the amendments in. Of course, I brought them to the council work session last week. And to speak a little bit more about why I feel those amendments are important, I'll start with this perception of risk that has been presented by staff and the attorney, and that, again, extend my appreciation to providing that assessment for us to sort of calculate what we think is the right thing to do. In our memo, there was some information about the legal risk for the 8 USC 1373 and 1644. I'll talk about that one first. Even in our memo, the federal statutes that are explained are constitutionally contested. And I feel like that is enough information for me to want to move forward. I would much rather make policy decisions that are rooted in what is in line with our Constitution and the law. And if what's being litigated against is already being identified as not constitutional, I don't feel that that is a reason to not move forward with the added amendments. And I think what can give both you, Councilmember Greenberg, and the rest of the council some peace of mind in moving forward with this is specifically the severability clause that's already in the ordinance today. And that protects the remainder of the ordinance should litigation happen and we do need to sever or pluck out specific language. So I think the state of the ordinance as is, nothing in it requires any violation of state law or federal law. I believe, and I think this is a matter of philosophy in, how we choose to do policy leadership. I believe that litigation risk alone should not be a reason for the city to defer from adopting policies that protect constitutional values. I also believe that there are some instances with the amendment around data sharing. To your point, you assume that the focus is or should be on the police, but I think there are some real, while hypothetical, very plausible scenarios in which enforcement activity could impact other parts of staff. For example, we have a DMV right outside the walls here. And should a federal agent come into the DMV and request any kind of data related to, asking, hey, I need some data related to how many people have come through to request license using some other form of identification. That's plausible. And that's a risk that would not be addressed with the original ordinance without the amendment. I think another example would be with utility data. If a federal agent were to approach Public Works and say, I want data for any water bills associated with these addresses, right? And so while those are hypothetical, they are within the realm of possibility, and without these amendments, that type of data sharing would not be addressed.
Okay.
So I'll just reiterate again, I do feel that the amendments are worthwhile, and I think it's a matter of, to your point, assessing that risk for personal comfort level and calculating that risk. And so I hope I'm quite clear in where I stand on that.
Sure.
Do you have something to follow?
Yeah, I guess just one thing, I was trying to follow your lead in that you mentioned how important it is to listen to the feedback of our community. And I haven't heard from anyone that's concerned about these issues because they are very hypothetical. What people are talking about is tangible police interaction with ICE and how the city makes resources available. So yes, those are definitely worthwhile conversations to have, but I think people want to see that we're taking action, and you yourself said that one of the most important things is listening to community feedback on this, and they're talking about police and a separation ordinance as it relates to the police, which is what our original draft language does. So it's not to say that I disagree with you, it's just to say we can get this done by March 17th and accomplish a major goal from what we're hearing as feedback from our community, or we can keep this language in, and I think we need to have a lot more conversations, and then we'll have what's 30 days after the 17th, we'll be looking at April 14th or the 21st or something in that line, which again maybe is fine, but that's just my take on it. So, and I'd also love to hear other feedback on what people think, and again, this is a conversation, so I'm not saying my way is the right way, I'm just wanting to have a conversation about this idea.
Councilmember Blackledge, did you have something?
Yeah, I appreciate the conversation so far, and I think I acknowledge and appreciate the staff's time creating this ordinance and the revisions as well. And I think to your point, Councilmember Parisian, I think one thing our community asked for us to do is to hear them and also think about things outside of what they think about as well, to be intentional around potential missteps or things that we could take as well too. So I think what you've done, for me especially, is thought about something that maybe hasn't been at the top of mind, but definitely something that's within the realm of possibilities of what we've seen so far happening. And I think it is thinking about our community very intentionally and being mindful of that. I think both the conversations are really important, but hearing that, I think I for sure would say we should maintain the amendment as it is as well too, recognizing that. And I think it just offers a more powerful, more intentional way to support our community that maybe hasn't been voiced so far.
Yeah.
Just ask a
Councilmember.
question. I
Ask a
guess,
question.
so that's suggesting that you'd rather go through the longer process, in which case would you be open to additional amendments? Because I kind of came here with this idea thinking we would maybe move forward in one way and didn't really think as much about additional amendments since I was trying to limit, but would you be open to additional amendments then too, since you're saying we should probably focus on things people aren't bringing up yet?
Well, I think we have done that initially. I think the police conversation has been part of that, and I think this extra layer of protection, I think, is what it comes down to, is ensuring that our city is utilized in the way it's supposed to be utilized, and not to support ICE in any capacity. So,
Right, but like if we had came up with other additional amendments to add to this language of things that maybe people haven't brought up, you'd be open to that?
do you have other additional?
Well,
amendments?
I was coming at it from the angle of,
Yeah.
like, we would move forward in a more, like, with an emergency ordinance, but since it sounds like that's not something you agree with,
Oh, I said I would consider host. Like, I think the idea of maintaining it right now for me makes the most sense.
right, yeah, so then if we have these conversations, then we should be open to getting more amendments, which then I would be more prepared to dig into those additional, which maybe there aren't any, but I would want to at least make sure, like, if we're going for things people haven't thought of yet, I want to definitely, like, bring all of that to the table.
Well, I think that's something we think is necessary, that we can do that, but also recognize that time is of the essence as well, too, in approving this and thinking about this. And I do think that this has been very well thought out, and we've used a template that has been put forth prior to, and I think that has helped with us kind of eliminating some of those other barriers that we might have thought. I think part of what Councilman Parisian was doing was offering you some different perspective as far as what there is out there, what could come as well, too, and we don't know. And I think part of that is I appreciate the reflective practice and thinking about our community in that sense as well, too, and how our city is being utilized in that sense as well, too. So there's something to think about. But I said, I hear you, because I said we can go down this rabbit hole of what we don't have in there all day. But recognizing what is important for our community right now with protections for not only everyone who is facing ICE issues and ICE challenges, which is all of us, it also continues to make sure that our community is, our city is supporting our community in that sense. So I think it is important to move forward in that sense. So I think,
Well,
yeah,
okay.
I think, yeah, we could talk about extra amendments and things all day, but I think given the time is, given the much time we spent on this in the last month, and recognizing the implications behind what's happening,
Yes, but
Yeah.
then at the same time, like, we just got that new language, like, right before we went to a work session. It's like, I just feel like we should have a fuller discussion and dig into more of what we're looking at. I mean, yeah, we've been talking about a separation ordinance for over a month, for whatever, since the early January, but like, we only got that language like a week ago. So it's not like I've contemplated those additional amendments for a month. I've had like a week or at that point had not even a day. We had the conversation, and from my perspective, it's like, okay, well, what's really the most important thing? And so I'm trying to make a suggestion for one way. It sounds like that's not something or it's not that you don't agree with it, it's that you want to make sure we're keeping these amendments. And if that's the case, then I think we should like dig in and try to figure out, I mean, if like we're going to focus on, I don't know, from my perspective, I was hearing that we should follow like what people are telling us and our community is saying the most important, which is what we were doing. And now it's like, okay, well, we should think of everything, like all the hypotheticals, which there are a lot of, and I want to make sure we have time to do that. And then that would mean bringing it back up into the next work session.
I've got, oh, thank you. I like just have like one thing on that. Just we do have a town hall coming up, and I know that the separation ordinance has like the new amendments and stuff. One of the ones that I really think is important is the reporting part. And again, like we don't want to put more work on city staff to have to do that, navigate that. Many other cities are also trying to ponder on that and see what exactly that report would even look like. But in the one pager that I had shared out, that Unidos is kind of given a baseline for what other cities' separation ordinance should look like. It's highlighted that the reporting, like an annual report on just any data request, should be publicized. But yeah, I will say that we do have the city hall coming up, which I know we don't want to prolong this because from what I've been gathering from community is that they're in favor of the separation ordinance. So whenever we're going to bring that forward, I think we should all just be in agreement on the amendments that should be brought forward. given that there was 3, and I'm no stranger to amendments coming in on the day of, with my time at the legislature, and I know they're more staffed than what we are to kind of do that intake, but it's not uncommon, I will say, to get amendments in on, and Councilmember Parisian did a good job of presenting it, and then I know that we only had a day to ponder on it, but I think it's not uncommon, I will say. So, yeah.
Councilmember Parisian?
Thank you. To the point of collecting feedback from the community, in our work session last week, we had provided the opportunity for public to give feedback on the separation ordinance. After several people got up to speak, majority in favor of the ordinance itself, you're right that the amendments were discussed after that point, and I think we have at least one person in the public that we know of right now who would like to speak on this. I would propose that we open up for feedback on the ordinance, and perhaps specifically to gather information tonight on the amendments, which are relating to data sharing, the reporting, and then also for staff giving explicit no consent to non-public spaces. So if the council is open to allowing the mayor to open up for public feedback on those, I would certainly be open to that.
I would like to just lay some ground rules if we do that, because what I don't want to have this is be a discussion that takes us into 11 p.m. And so just like with public comment, right, at the beginning, I would like to give people 4 minutes to state what they have to say, and then we take that feedback and we digest it with what we're considering tonight. Okay? Okay? Okay.
Would you like me to keep time?
What's that? And I'd love it if you keep time too. Yep. All right. Great. Do I need to make an official? Nope. Okay, floor is open. Dr. Wyatt, did you have something you wanted to add now?
If I could just quickly jump in, I just want to say thanks for those who are present tonight, and thanks for your willingness to step up. And I know you came up to give public comment before the meeting started, and so I just want to extend my thanks for you and your patience as we navigate the discussion. And thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks,
I,
Mia.
Thank you.
and I'm sorry, how much time do we have?
4 minutes.
minutes, okay. Well, again, I'm Carissa Wyant, 4503 York Avenue North. Thanks for allowing me to address tonight. I did send an email to all the council members about a month ago. I can't remember if it was after the murder of Renee Good or Alex Peretti, both tragedies, things we don't want to see happen in this community. And I think people are still being traumatized, of course, by ICE's presence in this community. And like my council member, Jason Greenberg, I do share the fact that we need to do something. It just feels like we haven't said anything as a community officially, in terms of, passing the separation ordinance. And so I share that. But I also understand that if we're going to do this, we need to do it right. And we need to, make sure that everyone feels protected. And I think that that's what a lot of people are looking towards our city to do right now, is to protect them from harm. I've tried to follow along with the conversations, the minutes, the various meetings that have been had. I have to leave in a little bit because this is always a busy night for me. I have a class in a little bit, but I just did want to say that I think we are all looking to the city council for guidance right now and for help. I was just shocked and saddened to hear the story about the woman who was chased by ICE and caused her to crash her car right outside City Hall, not too long ago. And she came into the City Hall asking for help, begging for help. And, if that is not evidence that we really need to do something right now, that it needs to be expedient, that we need to get something done, I don't know what is. I would hate to see any more harm inflicted upon people in this community. We have good people here. People are standing up to provide groceries, to provide help, to do everything in their power they can to protect their neighbors. So I just want to really urge each and every one of you to do something as quickly and as largely as possible to make sure that all of our neighbors, not just the ones who look like or sound like they belong here, are protected. So thank you very much for taking the time to listen to me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else would like to come up and say a few words?
Thank you.
Okay.
Greg Sayers, 3980 Lake Curve Avenue. Tim, were you able to send that information? So I appreciate, I'm not a good speaker, so I'm not gonna go read this, but please understand what I wrote. Take it to heart. Because it's just, everything stays the same. If we're gonna really help the immigrants and help people, there's other ways of helping. So just go by this. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to come up? Okay. All right. Okay, great.
Just, my name is Nick, 3931 Perry. Just strongly suggest you pass this immediately. I think we all have been chewing on it for a long time. It might be too little too late, honestly. This crisis has been ongoing since October, honestly. So I would appreciate expediency as you all, I feel that urgency in the room. For those that maybe have doubts, I would just say you can flesh out the details later. Yeah. I think the consequences of the city not responding in time are going to be felt for a long time. So just want to urge you quicker action. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Rosemary Lawrence, 3717 Ostra Avenue. I'm a person with color, and I thought I want to feel safe, my family feel safe, and the community to feel safe. So, and I'm trying my best to come to the council meeting like every, I think, second and first and third Tuesday.
Yep.
I want to participate in the council. I want to pay attention to everything in the community. I want us to be safe, and I ask you to help us to be safe.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Julie Ralston Aoki. I live at 3615 Abbott Avenue North. And I am here speaking as a resident. I want to say that I have been a little confused about this discussion about the amendments and the sort of characterization that it expands the scope of the draft that you looked at last week dramatically. That draft also addressed conduct by city staff in general, not just police. And I think that I am concerned about the conduct of city staff in general, not just police. I think the police are one part of it, a big part of it, but I think that it goes beyond, and that's the purpose of the separation ordinance, or a city stewardship ordinance, as it's sometimes called, is about protecting city resources and making sure that they are focused on serving and doing the work of the city and not doing the work of federal immigration enforcement. So it makes complete sense to me that the ordinance would address other things besides the police. And I think that's what people have been talking about and thinking about for all along, because all the models that we have, or most of the models that we have, do have that broader scope. And I think there was a suggestion in the staff memo. There was one proposed amendment that seemed potentially a little problematic. There was a proposal in the staff memo about how to deal with it. Seemed to be pretty straightforward. There weren't any concerns raised about the annual reporting requirement. So I'm, again, puzzled at this idea that, suddenly this is opening the door to a bunch of changes and that we have to think about a bunch of different hypotheticals and potentially delay this more. I will say that I think that also that I think that while expediency is important, I do also think it is important to do it well. And also do not sacrifice the good for the perfect, please, because there's always going to be changes that you can think of, and we do have a process for amending laws when we need them. But right now, we hope we're in a period of drawdown. We don't know for sure. There hasn't been any specific dates mentioned. It's hard to say how much things are changing, and we do have Board Czar Tom Homan on the record as saying, we're not going away. He explicitly said that, and he also said that if we need to, we'll come back. And so there's a lot of value to, even if this ordinance doesn't go in, say it passes all these stages and it goes into effect April 17th, there's a lot of value to having this ordinance on the books on April 17th, because again, we are in a marathon, not a sprint, and we need this policy, and people have been asking you for it for now months, we can say. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, let's close the public commentary session. So now you've heard from the public, is there additional comments here by council that you'd like to tag on?
I guess I have one.
Yep.
So as far as the reporting, so that even in the original draft ordinance, there will be new data that's created. And I guess just is the reason that there's no feedback on that is because that's something that you're planning on doing anyway, or like, I mean, we're going to have new data. I don't know if it's private or public or what that data is going to look like, but do you have a sense of? I think those two things are connected, so I just want to clarify.
Yes, please, Tim.
Mr. Mayor, Council, thank you, Councilmember Greenberg. I guess so. Just to call out explicitly a bit of what we're talking about. 3 sections, generally speaking, were considered at last week's work session. That includes data sharing, which I think has been discussed here pretty in depth. Just some reporting requirements, and then the no consent piece that is in section 4. So the data sharing piece, again, I think the beefed up language is where the concern was raised by way of litigation. I think Councilmember Parisian did a good job of calling out. It falls into that bucket of I don't know. We heard a lot of that last week. So it's, again, staff, when we call these things out per our memo, it's to just, by way of anytime you increase your risk profile, it's my job to alert you of that. What may happen with that, again, I don't know. So for the data sharing piece, we do believe we had a lot of those pieces covered. The explicit, I think it's fair to recognize the further we go and the further we discuss, the hypotheticals continue to grow. There's a lot of uncertainty, and I didn't think of that, I didn't think of that, I didn't think of that. Part of where I maybe took exception with some of the concerns that staff raised last week by way of training and ongoing training is I think we're going to continue to discover things. So leaving it a bit more open-ended, I believe, had us covered. This, again, new language does give feedback on that. As far as the reporting requirements, as you note, as new data is created, again, something that we haven't explicitly done a one-for-one on, I can't tell you what that public, non-public, private data is until we start to create it. That would be available via a public data request. So we do have a process for that, for anything that the city creates. For those that were on council maybe a handful of years ago, Councilmember Parisian, I forget about the time that you came on, we did a thing where we talked about properties, call them problem properties by way of code violation, just to understand sort of an updating of what public data may be available. So now a very different section of code, but just reiterate that without an explicit call out, that's something council asked for, staff was happy to put forward. So those are things that again would be available to you per the direction of statute, but again without going through the specifics. I think the hypotheticals, given tonight were good examples that coming to the DMV or going to utility billing and utilizing our request, and then what does become public and private. We have guidance by way of statute, and until we go down that road, I guess I don't have explicit answers, but hopefully that answers the question kind of in the two areas of data that we're talking about.
Thank you.
Other comments? I will. I'll add my 2 cents, and I don't know. I think the more so if the goal is to get this out, which is what the goal was in January, and now it's like, well, no, now we need to get it right, which I understand. And what I'm hearing is that if we get it out, we can build on it, right? Okay. Like I don't know. I feel like strip some of the complexity out of it, because I know there's litigation happening. It hasn't been decided, right? So that will probably inform some of the things that we do to the ordinance in the future. I mean, I'm kind of with Jason on pull back on some of this language, get the ordinance out so people see that we're doing something, and build on top of it. So I don't know. I don't like the assumption that, well, the city's got this. There's no risk. It's, I mean, you got an attorney who's saying there's risk. I think you need to take it seriously. Granted, I don't think the sky's going to fall, but, I just, like, why add more risk to it when, at the end of the day, it seems like it doesn't really stop anything, but it sends a message that we want you to stop, which I think is a good signal that, we're supporting the community, but at the end of the day, we do have to follow the law and what the federal government is going to, they've got the deep pockets. Maybe we'll win a lawsuit, maybe we won't, I don't know, but I also can't imagine that, when I heard that it would hamstring the city, that there is, that is a consideration that I think we need to keep in the back of our mind. So, that being said, that's my two cents, and, I'll look for the council for guidance, because I know we need to get specific on this tonight as well, correct? Tim?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Council, again, what staff is put in front of you is your consideration for what would be a first reading of this ordinance as is. I should go back a moment. Staff would like to call out, the way we presented the ordinance at the work session, put the materials in your packet, and by no way, Councilmember, you're spot on that amendments can come late to the game, but what we presented is what we had up to that point. Part of the way we crafted that language in consult with the attorney was to mitigate risk, and as we understood, would provide that opportunity for an emergency ordinance. Again, as Councilmember Greenberg calls out, that this process gets you approval into April. So that was the way staff presented. So if I missed something as a part of the process, I apologize. That was kind of where we got to where we did with what I understood the intentions to be.
Council. Parisi?
Thank you. In terms of the discussion between moving forward with the draft language as written versus removing the amendments so that we can go forward with an emergency ordinance, I want to point out, again, we talked about this in the work session, that the emergency ordinance requires a higher threshold to pass. It requires all 5 votes in order to pass. I said at that moment in time, and I still believe that that's, while I agree with the need for expediency, I wish that I was satisfied with Councilmember Greenberg's suggestion. What I'm not satisfied with is removing the amendments, and I don't feel confident that this council will find a 5 out of 5 vote with the intention for an emergency. ordinance. So with that being said, again, I want to be very clear
Can
on
I?
where I stand. I'm almost done, thank you. Just to be very clear on where I stand, I would like to keep the draft as written, as presented to the council, and I would prefer to move forward with the standard ordinance procedure.
Thank you. Councilmember Greenberg?
So I don't know for sure, but I would think we would have 5 out of 5 if we moved forward for an emergency ordinance with the original drafted language, which we'd still have a conversation. I guess we'd still have to have a conversation. It's not that like I don't think we would vote on it in our next city council meeting. I guess I can make sure to clarify that with Tim. Or you have no interest in that?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, I know you're talking about me, and you also have never asked. So I would, because I have. Well, give me a second. Thank you. I have heard from a lot of residents, and relatively few have been in line with the letter that we received from today. And you said at last council session, and I can remember sitting in one of those chairs a couple of years ago when you had a room full of people who wanted, no consent on light rail, and people wanted the council to listen to feedback then, and the feedback was, in survey form. We had good data. We had people standing up and saying what they wanted, and the council didn't listen. And that is not the position I want to put the city in, because I ran on the premise that I am here to listen to residents, not me. And so to this date, I have not heard an overwhelming opposition to the separation ordinance. Full stop. So. Councilmember Miranda?
Yeah, thank you. I would say timing is of the essence. I also want to be respectful of Councilmember Parisian's amendments. I think they're worthwhile, but if we get the reassurance that we can keep, working at these on the separation ordinance as we go, I'd be open to that, because we are a little late to the party, I will say, in terms of how fast we're moving on these. And ever since I got appointed onto city council, that's all that my emails are about separation ordinance. I went door knocking actually on President's Day, and talked with 5 folks in Ward 4. 4 out of the 5 asked me about ICE and just what we're doing. One instance, I ran across this house. I don't want to say their last name, but it was a Latino-sounding last name on the mailbox, and their windows were shut, completely shut, pitch black. I was like, oh, this sucks, because, on my brochures, it's in Spanish too, so I dropped it off. And as I'm, walking over there across the street, I see a family drop off groceries for them. And I almost choked up, seriously. I'm just like, oh my God, should I even go and try to talk to them? I'm sure they want, I want to value their privacy. So this is, top line item important for me. If we were to go with emergency, where we need a full vote, I'm confident that we can get this, because as Mayor said, Jason said, I haven't heard anyone in opposition to this, minus the letter here. And honestly, this is very, this is good. Thank you for submitting this in. I definitely value the opinion on this, because we do want to take all risks and consider them, because especially if there's a fiscal impact on the city. So just wanted to share that 2 cents. But again, and thank you, Councilmember Parisian, for putting in the amendments and things. So,
So if we wanted to move forward with the emergency ordinance, but not including the amendments, that we would, that's what I'm hearing you suggest, that we would address the amendments after the fact or at another time. We're not in, is there a motion for that, or how would we move forward with that,
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Greenberg, I think you could move forward in a few ways here. You can host the first reading of this item while giving direction to staff to bring back at the March 10th work session of this version, as well as what would be considered under an emergency. So at the March 10th discussion, you can give direction to staff what you would ultimately want to hear on the 17th. If at that point it is to go forward with an emergency version, we can bring that forward. If it's to bring this back, I guess there would be a sequence to it depending on what you do recommend. If the direction is explicitly just to bring this back and don't bother with the emergency, then we would do that for the 17th.
Council, anything?
Yeah. I think this is a direct conversation. I think it's a great way of showing conversation and being able to talk and process through things. Councilman Parisian, I just want to say I do appreciate and the call out for creating strong language, especially in the amendment, especially in this ordinance. That's something that speaks so intentionally to our community and for what we need. And I also understand that we are late to the game, late to the party as well too when it comes to, sorry about the use of words, but late to really taking initiative, as I think we once had an opportunity to do. And so really, if it is of the appetite of the council to pass the emergency ordinance tonight, or pass the emergency ordinance and really intentional around coming back in and I think adjusting some language as we move forward, I can support that.
Okay, so is there other discussion? Tim, what do you need to hear right now?
Mr. Mayor, this would be a council decision, but to go forward with your first reading of this item, I would need a motion, second, and a vote. If that comes with the direction to bring back language for the emergency ordinance at the March 10th, please include that as part of the motion.
So I'll make a motion to, is it waive the first read or have the first reading, whatever. I make a motion to hold the first reading of the ordinance with direction to staff to consider a emergency ordinance at our next work session that would be based on the original draft language that we discussed prior to the amendments.
I have a question. Would that also include the amendments for reporting as well too that were also in here? Or is that just for the, is that all amendments that were suggested? That wouldn't be up for this current, sorry.
Yes, Tim.
Mr. Mayor, Council, if Councilmember Greenberg is comfortable rescinding, this wasn't a full motion, but if you're comfortable rescinding, maybe to make it the cleanest, what we do is offer two motions. First is to waive the reading, to waive the first reading of the ordinance in front of you. Following, if some were to motion, and second to bring back, that would give staff direction to bring back potential language for an emergency ordinance to be considered for discussion on March 10th, and also, or ultimately potentially going to the March 17th council meeting. So maybe just to make it cleaner, which I think Councilmember Blackledge is asking, two separate motions.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion to waive the first reading of the ordinance. I don't have the specifics in front of me here. Hold on.
Here.
Yeah, give me a paper. To waive the first reading to consider an ordinance adding new language relating to administration and employee authority in immigration matters. Is that accurate?
I second that motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no or nay. Okay, that motion's waived.
And then I would like to make a motion to direct staff to prepare for an emergency ordinance at our work session for March 10th, using the language for discussion, using the language from the original draft ordinance that we originally considered.
Is there a second?
You can.
I can second? I can second? I'll second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no or nay. Okay. Passes. Great. The business item B, authorize city manager to execute an agreement with cities for safe and stable communities.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. So this one is something I know that council members have asked about. It got a little bit of attention as I think a good example of a lot of things happening quickly in the last number of weeks. Cities, or a coalition of cities, have come together on a number of topics, really wanting to go against bad governance, maybe is the nice way to say it. Calling out a few areas: respect for local control, economic stabilization, and immediate de-escalation in a lot of things that we're talking about right now. This will be a resource for the city, and as this coalition continues to build, to not just share out, again, resources that we may not be able to deliver on our own to our communities, but also to learn from one another. Again, that things might be happening in our neighboring communities that don't immediately happen today, and the vice versa is true, that we can share out our learned lessons as we go forward. So I'm sure council would like to discuss this a bit, so I won't hog the mic, but again, staff is asking for authority to execute the agreement that we've discussed as soon as tomorrow.
Excellent. Thanks, Tim. I'll just add a bit of context here, because I know this started making its way around, and people were like, well, why don't you guys join this? And it wasn't a simple, I'm going to sign up process. This started out with a small group of mayors that they kind of did it themselves, and then some other mayors wanted to get into it, and it was starting to travel around the mayor community by word of mouth. So by the time it got to my ears, I was like, well, I want to be a part of this too. And so trying to get information from the city of Richfield, and then we found out that this actually city of Minnetonka is using some of their consultants that they work with that's kind of helping put this together. So it was a bit of a chase process to try to get into the slot where we could get documentation and onboarding materials and just even understand like costs. And so that's the context behind this, but this is definitely one of those things where it's nonpartisan, but it's also saying, as Tim said, it's just we're kind of standing against bad governance right now. And so I'm a fan of joining this, and I'm open for feedback and obviously council's perspective on this.
I'll just quickly say I'm fully supportive of joining, and thanks to staff and the mayor for starting this conversation. I think there's strength in joining voices for the collective coordination and preserving our community safety. So fully supportive.
Mm-hmm. Any other commentary?
I'm also supportive. So.
Okay. I need to look again, like make you talk.
No, I'm just.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I think any opportunity to use a collective voice
Yeah.
is really important. So, thank you, City and Mayor, for
And, I mean, that's
taking a step.
the thing, right? Like everybody's standing up and saying the same thing with this collective voice. So I like this. All right.
Yeah, and I also am in support of cities for safe and stable communities, which I appreciate that you worked with city staff to make this happen. So thank you for that.
And thank you to staff for helping out on this. That was it was a bit of a chase, to say the least. So, okay. Well, do we have a motion to authorize the city manager to execute an agreement with the cities for safe and stable communities?
So moved.
second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no or nay. All right, Tim, so let it be written. So let it be done. Thank you. Next, under other business, set a February 23rd, 2026 special work session for Community Town Hall.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. The item in front of you was discussed at last week's work session. As noted, February 23rd is a proposed town hall, 6 p.m. start. Staff is really seeking some direction on format. This is something that typically we would have more time to prepare for, think about. If organic and open is what the goal is, that's great. One of the reasons we're looking for that direction is to be able to communicate out so we can manage expectations when people come in. I know the city of Golden Valley has done something similar, and maybe that's where the impetus for this type of get-together came from. Do want to note out, and I would urge council to share a bit here tonight while we're being recorded. It was expressed very clearly to me that there are a number of capacities that the council can do this type of work in, and not that one is right and one is wrong. I think they're all good. As we want to continue to bolster the confidence that you as a council has by way of getting the feedback that you need for the decision-making process that we go through. So when we get through the separation ordinance in whatever capacity we do, that's not the end of the decision-making for the year. I'll remind you guys of that. We got a lot of stuff to do here yet. So just want to share that out as a reminder that this isn't a one and done, and encourage you as council to share out what some of those other opportunities are. But again, as a part of setting this date, with it already being next week, what some expectations might be, that'd be helpful for staff to help communicate.
Okay. I do have some ideas around the format, but I also don't want to steal anybody's thunder if they've given it some thought, and so I'll open it up to council. Any ideas around format? Yes, Councilmember
Thank
Breezer.
you. Thanks, Mayor. Some thoughts on format. I think, I guess before getting into format, I just want to clarify with staff. Do we have, or have we extended an invitation to the police chief to be present during the town hall?
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Parisian, by the time that this was set, conflicting prior engagement had been scheduled. The captain that typically attends will also be out of town. So one of the downsides of setting something less than 2 weeks out.
Okay, thank you. In terms of format, if I can continue then, I think what I would like to propose is that the purpose of the town hall is for members of the community to give testimony as it relates to the impacts of ICE and federal immigration enforcement. I would also propose, for the sake of logistics, I guess, to have perhaps a sign-up sheet to establish an order in which people can provide that testimony, similar to how testimonies happen in other bodies of government. I would, for the consideration of privacy, I would ask that we don't require folks to share their address in their public testimony, but rather they can have their address verified, because I know it's important to council to understand who's in their ward. So I think that can certainly be done in a more private, like protecting their information. I think having, similar to tonight, some sort of like time parameter to give testimonies, and then that also allows the public to prepare what they would like to say. And then I also want to consider options for those who are unable to attend or don't wish to attend. We've discussed an email inbox. I would also like to float the idea of a way to collect voicemail or phone calls for those who don't wish to send email, if that's feasible. But I think the immediate goal in my mind is to have members of the community be heard, and then also have their testimony documented in a way that goes beyond what we typically do in our meeting minutes. And what I would hope is that the intended outcome, of course that won't happen in the same night, but the intended outcome would be to analyze the testimony for themes, and then provide an aggregate report similar to what we talked about last week in our work session, along the lines of what Richfield has done. So that's, for me, one of the goals that I hope to come out of this event, and full knowing that the problem solving will not necessarily happen in that room, but rather the documenting and allowing the community be heard would happen in that room. So those are my initial thoughts. Thanks.
Councilmember Greenberg?
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's really well put. I agree with all of those things. I think from my standpoint, a couple of tactical details as far as like format and process or whatever. One is I like the idea of having people call. Not everyone feels comfortable emailing, that maybe the city council could be the avenue for that our ward residents can call us and speak with us, and then we can make sure that gets communicated to city staff. I think that's a great way to connect with community, especially those that feel vulnerable to, come to the meeting or send an email. And then I guess my other idea just around capturing the information, and I think Richfield did do this, but to share, once we aggregate it, to then share it with the Attorney General, to make sure that the state can utilize that data, which I think will be effective. And then the last thing that I was thinking about is just as far as a sign-up sheet or how to handle that. I agree that that's people can submit that they would like to be there. We can compile that list and have that started. But that the sign-up list there goes some amount of time into the meeting and then is kind of cut off, so that it means if you didn't have a chance to sign up before you get to the meeting, you can still speak, but that we're not an hour and a half in and then more and more people are showing up, and then it's just I want to get everyone's feedback, but I would hope that people would be there to be in community and hear the feedback and not come at the end, share their piece and then leave, because that to me isn't as effective as far as being in community. So I think having some time limit, it's an idea. I'm not beholden to it, but I thought that would be a good way to allow people to sign up in advance, come to the meeting if they didn't sign up, and then they can sign up there, and then after a certain amount of time, it's okay, we're done taking signups. But I would think that everyone would be there at that point. I don't know. That might be a bridge too far.
Councilmember Ronda?
Thank you. I'm totally in agreement with all these things, especially the more safety measures for protecting their address, things like that. One thing we could do is set up some sort of Google form for the end of the town hall, where folks can do a QR code and we can have a list of questions of what brought you here today. It can also just be a way to collect, just more more personal messages of what their thoughts are, but just some sort of end of town hall survey, and it can be super short, just a couple questions on what brought you in, and if you're not able to attend, you can also fill this out too, just to make the data collecting easier, I think.
Yeah, I think those are all great ideas. As far as data collection piece, how do you like a Google form at the end? I think it's an opportunity to ask some final questions, but also seek guidance for follow-up if that's something that is an appetite for our community as well too. So I think it's a great way of ending that. And yeah, the time limit, I wonder about that. I don't have a feeling one way or the other, except I do like to make sure our voices are heard, but also recognize the emotional toll that it takes on people to come out and speak. And so just to be cognizant of that and aware of how that might, a time that might just deter people from being able to show up their authentic selves as well too.
Yeah, please.
So at the work session, somebody gave some really intense and terrible feedback and was cognizant of the time frame and like, maybe it could be longer a little bit just to give people an extra window, but that like, it felt like what we were hearing from the community in our work session had time limits, and I felt like that was, it was effective in the sense that like people were able to share these stories and get us feedback, but it didn't seem limiting.
Yeah,
I
I agree. I think part of it is by design as well too, because part of this is allowing. Because I think people can share and then move on. I think people are pretty good about judging that, and when you're telling your story, I think it's the point of getting that, being able to get that out, intentionally without like being felt like you have restrictions. But I get both. I think it's by design as well too, that was able to take place that way.
If I may, I think that putting time on the conversation is important, and it's just like, I think 4 minutes. I mean, I know some stories go long, but sometimes editing helps too. But for other people who show up to speak, like, I mean, there's going to be people who show up to speak. Plus, I also think there just needs to be some kind of rules governing this thing when it comes to like, it's not a discussion. It's it's kind of a discussion, but it's like, we're receiving feedback, but what I don't want to see is, 2-3 times with the same person, right? I think we need to respect everybody's time and just set a window and say it's 2 hours or it's 2.5 hours and it's 4 minutes each. And I think that is more than fair to gather some feedback. Otherwise, somebody could talk for who knows how long, and you start losing people by about 9:30, 10 o'clock, and so.
Can I offer this? I think part of it is coming with some community agreements as far as how to lay that out, because I think people are pretty respectful knowing that other people are in the spaces to talk to as well. And I think we do this with our work sessions as well too. Like, just be respectful and mindful about who's in the room and sharing your story. I think we do a great job of eliciting that, and so we can maybe come with some intentional community agreements moving forward. I think that also is a nice way of allowing people space, and then some people are going to take longer than others, and some will take shorter than others. But I think that might help with that as well too, because I hear what you're saying. Like, how do you continue to make sure things move along, but also the importance of hearing people's stories and not rushing them or.
I just worry people get irritated and they're like, come on, someone's going to say that. And it's like, then things go off the rails.
But community agreements allow for you to have parameters around that. And so I think you respect the other person.
So what does that look like?
So community agreements, for instance, you can say, be mindful of the space that we're in, who's present in the room. There's a lot of people here wanting to talk and speak. And so something we can say is be concise and direct in your message. So things of that nature that will help to promote people to feel empowered to be heard, but also empowered to be able to share their story in a way that's not detracting from, I think, 4 minutes that we try to put people in boxes sometimes. So this is a practice that I do with a lot of schools I work with as well too. We have community agreements and talk about what it looks like. And sometimes there's non-closure that happens with that as well too. And so speaking to those things, and I think figuring out what we want as a council to make sure, to make that make sense. And then I think a beautiful way of doing that is having the community agree upon how, like, the community agreements we have. So we can have some very intentional, like, these are our 4 top, and then the community can offer other ones as well too that they might see that would be beneficial for us to move forward in our discussion and dialogue. So just a way that you wrap it up, but you don't.
Yours are students though, right?
Mine are adults.
They're adults.
Yeah,
okay.
I coach. Yeah, I work with adults.
Okay.
Adult learning. So.
I appreciate that, but I think we need to have a guideline, and I think we need to be able to prevent somebody from rambling on in a dignified way, and not have them speak for 7-8 minutes, and then it's like, okay, hey, you know what? You've had enough, which could be embarrassing, instead of like, I'm up against the 4-minute time clock, and maybe it's 5 minutes, but if you can't get your point across in like 5 minutes, so yes, Tim.
Mr. Mayor, Council, if I may suggest, as you all know my adoration for rules and policy, you do under your rules of decorum, section 6, subdivision 6, have language that when we talk about the 4 minutes, it says unless further time is granted by a majority vote of the council, remarks from the public shall be limited to 4 minutes.
There you go.
I think this gives you 3 head nods in this type of a circumstance, that you guys know how to read the room. We as staff will have to figure out what we're gonna do. But I think to all points being discussed here, setting up a parameter of 4 minutes, and we'll include that language, people will have an idea of this is the way I can go. I would also note that these types of things that may be an introductory to folks that might not come to this type of engagement, that this isn't a city council meeting, so maybe a first step of hopefully many when it comes to engagement. But if we're worried about that time frame, publicizing it as such, that gives you that easy out that I'll shut off the clock if I'm seeing at least 3 engaged council members.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, yes, Councilmember Friesen.
Thank you. I'm making a note that there's a hand up in the crowd. I'd be open to hearing feedback from the public at this moment.
Rest of the council want to open it up to public?
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I second that.
Thank you. Julie Ralston-Aoki again. I just wanted to appreciate this discussion. I really appreciate that the city is putting on this town hall, especially with the short notice. I did want to ask if hearing that the chief of police isn't available to come, I wanted to ask if it would be possible to have other members of the police there, as I really feel like part of this is an important, opportunity for community and all city staff, to including the police, to be together and in community, as Councilmember Greenberg has talked about, and to talk. And I think this is an important first step. So I just wanted to ask if you all to consider that, and also, of course, to ensure that as many city staff as possible could also attend, because again, I think it's really this important for us to be in conversation together at this town hall. And I just wanted to also ask or suggest that it would be good to be ready for questions, because I know even you can talk. We know how these things go, and people will often talk about what's on top of their mind, or they're going to have a lot of questions. And so I think trying to be prepared as much as possible, having the people you can have in the room who might be able to answer questions, and at least being prepared to take them down and get back to them later would be very helpful. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Jess Lewis, and I am a Golden Valley resident, but a candidate for the State House covering the Robbinsdale area as well. We recently hosted a very similar town hall in Golden Valley, which was for this purpose of also giving the public an opportunity to learn from the city and also share their experiences. So I wanted to share a few things that I thought worked well there for your consideration. The meeting was opened by the mayor and members of council who gave initial comment summarizing where the city stands and what actions the city is taking. That was done by one member of council that had been delegated to read a statement on behalf of council and the mayor. And then the city attorney, who I know we have represented by a law firm here, summarized the legal actions that the city is taking. There were also slides on this information, and the city manager summarized from the city manager's perspective as well on a single slide, and the chief of police did as well, so that before anyone spoke, they understood where the city stood, which helped reduce the number of questions. They also had volunteers who passed out index cards and pencils so members of the public could write down questions, which were then given to a focal point so that they could eliminate duplicates and combine questions as needed and then place them to the correct person, which also helped address the concern about vulnerability. If someone was sharing a question that they didn't want necessarily a spotlight on them raising, that was a nice way to address that, and also just keep things running smoothly, to your point, Mayor, about not wanting it to go till midnight. And in this forum, people did not have the opportunity to share their public comments with their personal experiences. So it was more, the focus of that meeting was, what is the city doing and what questions do you have about it? So I want to applaud you for your willingness to just open this up to hear from your public about their experiences, but also share as a resident of the broader community that I think there's a lot of questions about what are you doing, and if you don't first answer that, you may keep hearing that raised in people's comments. And I understand this forum is happening before the separation ordinance is voted on, but perhaps also mentioning there might be one in the future, if there is one planned, to incorporate comments throughout this process. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead. Yep.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, I think, oh, Greg, go ahead.
Greg Sayers, 3980 Lake Curve Avenue. I have two concerns. Just throw it out there. How much? So when we take the community service next week, Robbinsdale residents. So when you take can we ask if they're residents of Robbinsdale or residents of Golden Valley, and not give addresses? But I want a good indication of Robbinsdale residents. This is Robbinsdale's problem. It's not Golden Valley, not Apple Valley, Robbinsdale's problem. So I want to hear from the Robbinsdale's people. I like hearing from everybody, but this is Robbinsdale issue. Everything, I've talked to my neighbors over the weekend about this. 15 neighbors know nothing about this. So if we can get more information about this issue.
The town hall?
Town hall, yeah, maybe we can go on the CNC next. Maybe,
CCX, yeah.
Maybe someone can bring this up, because my neighbors don't know about this. We need to get more people involved. I'm seeing the same people, which is fantastic. I want to see new people. Because we got 14,000 residents. I'm seeing 15, which is fantastic, but I want to see more. So we got to get the word out more, if we can. If we can all share from all wards, not just 1, 2, 3, 4, the whole community. So if we can get the message out before next week, I would deeply appreciate that. So thank you.
Thanks, Greg. To that end, it was mentioned in the mayor's minutes. That was recorded with CCX. I don't know when that will air, but I think it's before the town hall. And I know the city's communicating through social media and emails. I did have some thoughts, so agree with everything I heard. I think I kind of like the idea also of having people ask questions, and the stories I think are important, but I really like the idea of people what questions you have, because I think there's just a lot of questions out there. People don't trust that Robbinsdale police, as an example, are not cooperating with ICE, and so I do like the idea of formatting it and kind of orienting people towards bringing their questions. So would agree that it is a welcome and open remarks delivered by the mayor, and then we provide some contextual updates, right? I think the city, it would be good to be clear and factual about what has happened with ICE inside the city of Robbinsdale, what we are proposing that we're doing, with the separation ordinance, what we are doing with the Coalition for Safe and Secure Communities. So I think that's important. We definitely open it up then to public commentary. I am a huge, huge fan of just setting some guidelines around you have 4 minutes or it's 5 minutes, because it will get abused, you guys. It will get abused, and people get annoyed, and people leave. And if people are there to express themselves, let's just make sure that everybody's respecting everybody else's time in the room, and no one person's story is more important than another person's story or another person's question, right? I think we need to value everybody's time. So I do think there needs to be some guidelines. I also think we need a time limit on the meeting. So 2.5 hours, again, we're gonna lose people at 10 o'clock anyways, or 9:30. We'll see how this first one goes, and I guess if we determine that there's more time that's needed, then we can make that call on the meeting. Sign-up sheet, yes. I like the idea of not having people who are uncomfortable giving their address. I'm good with that. I don't want to put people in an uncomfortable spot. But to Greg's point, I do want to know who's a Robbinsdale resident, because we've had situations where people are coming in from Crystal and they're coming in from Minneapolis, and we're talking about a Robbinsdale issue, and it's thanks, but we want to know what the residents have to say. No offense, Golden Valley. And then, of course, summarizing with what our next steps are. And documenting that, and then reporting it back out. And then maybe any questions that we can't answer, we can follow with people directly, either via email or via phone call. If the police can't be there, I was going to ask too if there's somebody from the department that could represent. Or if there's a slide just kind of stating the police's policy and, examples of what they're doing to support residents.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor and Council, I guess direct to having PD present. Again, unfortunately, just by luck of the draw, the date that was selected, staff would recommend for something like that a little more leeway, or not leeway, but lead time, excuse me, for something in the future again, so we can not just PD have other staff. Since we put this out on last week, and then we got it out with our Birdtown brief on Friday, I have gotten some questions, including from staff, should staff attend. So what we've been utilizing this for, again, I haven't gotten direction really until tonight. We do intend on recording it, so we'll be shared with staff, both from the police department and down here at City Hall. So we will get, questions, stories, that type of thing sent out. I'd be happy to put together some, a few slides kind of sharing the updates where we are, some things that we're looking at doing next, not by way of trying to limit questions, but hopefully provide some answers or a little bit of uncertainty. I can certainly make some asks within. I'm not at this point sure who that would be. As you all are aware, we've got a limited department in our leadership. When our previously committed to something else, So.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, Tim. And definitely appreciate the short timeline. And thank you guys for wanting to make this happen. Yes, Councilmember Greenberg.
So I think in the work session, we got the feedback that, people are scared and angry and are clamoring to express their feedback in a way that, I think in our initial discussion of the topic, it was like, well, let's figure out some times to hear some feedback, and we go to a little thing here and a little thing there. And it was what we heard back was like, nope, that's not going to cut it. We got to do this now. And this is an emergency. And so I think with that in mind, I'm not looking to avoid answering any questions, but we have limited time and we wanted to get this out here. So I think that the focus should be on that testimony of let's hear these stories and let people share. If they have questions, I'm not saying they can't ask questions. And if we have answers, we want to get them to them. But I as much as I appreciate the feedback that the way Golden Valley did this, they had a town hall scheduled months in advance, that they had a ton of resources. We just last week decided we're doing this, and we wanted to get in front of our residents and people of Robbinsdale so that they could share these stories that we were hearing needed to be, we as a city need to hear them. Sure. So I hope that's an okay suggestion. I know it's in line, at this point it's in line with what you were saying, but I'd be interested to hear if everyone else agrees with that, of the focus should really be on getting these stories told to us. I know there are going to be a lot of questions, and we're not trying to avoid answering questions, but we wanted to create this as a place for people to share with us. And it also doesn't mean that this is the last meeting, that this is the last forum, or this is the only forum. I think, we had also talked about getting in, supporting local businesses, and as a council and mayor, or some flavor of going out and meeting with residents there is an option. So all that said, I think we're in a little bit of a unique situation, and we have limited resources as far as staff that can actually be at this event, because it's next week. That we focus on hearing from our residents, and hopefully we hear from a lot of people, and I know that those are going to be important stories for the community to hear, for us to hear, for staff to hear, and again, it sounds like they're going to get this information, and then we will go on from there and see where this leads to, but also sharing those, if civil rights were abused or infringed upon somehow, to make sure that gets to the state, and that they're aware of what's going on in Robbinsdale as well.
No, that's a good point. Okay, so I would agree. So we'll take stories, questions, comments, I guess, right? You don't have to have a story if you got a comment for the city who wants to consider something. I mean, it is a town hall. So I like that.
I just want to say,
Councilmember Blackledge.
yeah, the folks at the eagerness of listening and allowing community members a space to share questions, concerns, and perspectives directly with the council. As communities across Minnesota navigate ongoing difficulties, this is an opportunity to engage locally and be heard. So that's what we communicated out.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
We're not telling people they can't ask
No,
questions.
no, I just make sure that we.
And I like the idea of opening the floor. Sorry, Mia, I didn't know you had your hand up. Definitely go to you next. I definitely want to hear stories, but I don't want to pigeonhole people either. Like, if you've got something else you want to bring up, like you've got us all, it's a town hall, if this works out for you, come tell us. So, sorry, Councilmember Parisian.
Thank you, Mayor. In light of RPD not being present, what I would ask is that should there be questions that RPD is in the best position to answer, that we offer follow-up in some way, or enhancing our FAQ resources. So collecting those questions with the intention of providing more robust information in those resources, but also I would be open to inviting RPD to provide some sort of, not a statement, but something at the kickoff of the meeting if they are not present. I would certainly be open to hearing some words from the chief or captain or the department as a whole, with the same intention of providing some information and early statements early on in the meeting. So I think I anticipate there being questions specifically for RPD, and if they cannot be present to answer them in person, then I think we should make a commitment to collect them and enhance our resources and follow up.
Agreed. Tim, do you have enough to go on right now? Are there other thoughts that?
Boy, do I. Mr. Mayor, Council, we'll continue with the advertisement that Councilmember Blackledge shared out, that type of language. Get it out as best we can, but certainly rely on you all to help us get the word out as well.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
Definitely get the word out. All right. Moving on.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah,
I would ask that
motion,
you make the formal action to set a special work session.
Well, I was moving on to that formal action, Tim, just so you know. So, yep,
I
please.
will make a motion to set a special work session for a Robbinsdale Town Hall on February 23rd at 6 p.m. here at City Hall.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say no or nay. Okay. We've got a town hall. Next is voucher request pending approval for disbursement. Anything to add, Chase? Tim? Council, any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve disbursement request for the period ending February 17th, 2026.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no or nay. Okay, passed. Next is administrative reports.
Nothing for me tonight. Thank you.
You good? All right.
Mr. Mayor, Council, a few quick updates. Do want to note with March sneaking up on us, it has been feeling like spring. People will see the Park and Recreation newsletter hit their mailboxes here typically about that first week of March, and registration for everything from recreation to events opens about a week thereafter. So looking forward to that. In that theme, the native plant sale will open up again in the first half of March, as well as the tree sale, as we've been doing the last number of years. So watch for updates on those items. I want to thank those that have been participating in the plastic-free challenge. We have a version going on at City Hall. I've been having a little bit of fun with that. Hopefully members of the public have also jumped on. I've certainly learned a number of my habits contribute to part of the problem that is, and so appreciate the impetus and our Green Corps member for really taking a lead on that one. And then, of course, with a couple upcoming items, of course, the Town Hall, I'm sure you all will talk about. And then I look forward to our discussion with council and leadership of the top goals and priorities next Thursday.
Great, thank you. All right, council general communications. Council, anybody got anything they'd like to say? Not required. Yes, Councilmember Parisian.
Thank you. I just quickly wanted to say I'm really impressed with the Birdtown Brief this week. The newsletter that went out, it highlighted so many events for Black History Month. Specifically wanted to highlight a movie night that's happening tomorrow night at Elam, and you can check out the city website for information and how to RSVP for that. There was also a lot of great information on sustainability activities, their garden plot applications, salt use, things like that. So just wanted to say thanks to staff for putting that communication together. And within that communication also was all about the town hall that Councilmember Blackledge highlighted earlier in our discussion, and very much looking forward to that on Monday. That's it.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'll go briefly. Hey, with the change in the weather, and we're gonna go back a little bit. This, as you have time, is get out, greet your neighbors, say hi. It's good to see a lot of people out and about walking, just being in conversation, just connecting. So, just looking forward to a change in temperatures, but also knowing that we're gonna go back for a little bit. But yeah, and thank you for a rich conversation tonight, council as well too, and city staff. Thank you for assembling, getting everything put together for us. Really appreciate it. And for those who came out tonight and sat through this, really appreciate you. Yeah, and listening.
Thanks.
Councilmember Greenberg.
Yeah, I just I want to say thanks to everyone for a great conversation tonight, and appreciate everyone working together on what is an important topic. And I know that the city residents are very interested and care a lot about it. The other thing that I wanted to throw out, just on a little lighter note, is that my house backs up to Lakeview Terrace Park, and there is a recently installed electric charger there for cars, and I can tell you, my back window faces that parking lot, and it gets used every day. So, and sometimes multiple times a day. So I know there were some concerns about, is this the most effective place? I don't know that it necessarily matters. People want access to public chargers, and they are using them. So I'm glad that we installed that. I'm glad that people are using it, and it is exciting that to see it used so much.
That's great. I know plugging it at Hy-Vee is like, I think it's not even worth the effort.
I don't have no.
And as somebody who's searched for plugins before, it's nice to have options. Not required, but you got anything you want to say?
I don't have anything on that. I
Yeah.
just thank you again for coming out in community and stuff, and we look forward to seeing you next week for the town hall, hopefully.
Excellent. And I will also say thank you for the conversation tonight. I thought it was a good session. Also, happy Ramadan. It's also the start. We're in the Lunar New Year here. It's Fat Tuesday. So if you got some time, you want to slam that daiquiri before you go to bed, that's going to happen tonight. And then National Random Acts of Kindness Day today. So if you didn't get one done, go out there and do something nice for somebody. Okay. With that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
I'm just curious. I read online that the meeting is from 7 to 8, and I see that we are 9 something. I just want to get an understanding.
Oh, yeah. These meetings can go sometimes until 10:30 or 11.
So we need to make the adjustment on 9. If it's from 7 to 9, let it be moved.
Okay, good feedback. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so noted. And I'm sorry, was there a second on that motion?
Second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no or nay. Meeting adjourned.